So I'm going to be completely honest at the start of this episode. I still don't know what to make of the trade that occurred at the end of the prior episode because I never planned on trading Adrian Kempe, but you see two first rounders, Robin Lehner, the younger goaltender, in exchange for Kempe, and obviously I was tempted, but my thought in putting Jonathan Quick into the trade is that there was no way they would accept the deal. And then they did. What's done is done. Kempe and Quick are now members of the Vegas Golden Knights. Robin Lehner is here in Los Angeles. And we have the Golden Knights' next two first-round picks. Like I said, I don't know what to make of it. I'm not overly happy with trading Kempe. And obviously, first-round picks in a series like this, are less of a slam dunk because we don't, have that extra bit of information, so we don't exactly know how well it's going to work out. If there is one bright side, it's that we do have Turcotte, we have Kapari, Kaliev, Anderson, Dolan, Velarde, these, Akil Thomas as well. Some of them, it might be a little bit shaky as to whether or not they develop, but we do have some players in the system. Tyler Madden's there as well. It's tough to say. I mean, the thing with Kempe, and this was pointed out as well in the comment section of the last episode, the thing to note with Kempe is that while he was an 87 overall, the big thing to note here is that his potential is only a high top 9. There is a very good chance as a second-line player that overall could just simply drop back down. That very well could be due to the morale system more than anything else. I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. But obviously me adding Jonathan Quick into that deal was my way of being like, I don't really want to do this, but I'm going to. Thinking that they'd reject it because why wouldn't they? They immediately have him on the block. He's on a brutal contract, but they still accepted it. So we do have two first-round picks. Now, Vegas, they're not a brutal team, but right now their season could go in a couple of different ways. They're on 63 points with 20 games left, and you see how ridiculously close the Pacific is, if you don't factor in Edmonton at the top and us at the bottom. But anywhere between 2 and 7, 2 points difference at the most, which is absolute insanity. So we'll see what happens there as we get a trade offer for Iafallo. No, that's not going to happen. So that brings us to deadline day. Man. Iafallo stays, but Adrian Kempe is gone. And again, Kempe was one of the guys that I planned on kind of keeping around, but I'm like, okay, it's not going to be a top-line guy. It's just crazy. It's crazy. I did not expect to make that trade. And yes, there is the possibility that Robin Lehner might not want to re-sign, which is why right now we're going to look to see if he does. Because if he doesn't, thankfully he does, we could get rid of him. So as far as what he's looking for nothing. He has to have a lower overall due to the morale system. He has to. Wow. That could be a real steal of a contract, even more so than Kempe. First and foremost, what could I get for Robin Lehner? We're allowed to trade him. I don't know. In real life, obviously, I don't think, it wouldn't be his real-world contract, so we don't know as far as the no movement or anything like that. No trade offers for him, which really makes me wonder what that overall is. Again, Peterson, there's not going to be any trades or any deals there, of course, and we're not desperate to get rid of him, so I'm not going to add a draft pick to that. So I think we're just kind of stuck with who we have and who we've brought in. Again, I'm not allowed to trade Pietrangelo, Hall, or Holla. I know in theory, of course, like, oh, you're a terrible team. Why would you bring them in? It makes you better. Like I said, I just didn't want them to sit there and then maybe not recover and not be a factor because they just sat there and did nothing. I did it for the sake of having good players still be good, even if it could kind of ruin, where we currently are. So we'll see how that works out for me long term. One last ditch effort on Dustin Brown. There is an interest or a team that's interested. It's Arizona, but they want to move Ranta, and we can't do that. We'd have to flip him immediately. So Dustin Brown will be staying. What about Jeff Carter? There's nothing tying Jeff Carter down to this team. We do get an offer as well on an open block. Will it be Arizona again? It is with Ranta. Okay, so both Jeff Carter and Dustin Brown are going to be staying here too. That's fine. And yeah, everyone else is going to stay. Works for me. Works for me. So this team is set. We have 2 first-round picks in the upcoming draft, a draft that we will get to in this episode because obviously we're not going to make the playoffs. So just to quickly look at this roster again, I mean, the big thing is going to be re-signing Robin Lehner at this point. 2 years, maybe 3. And then forward-wise, we have 10, 11, 12, 13. We need to call up somebody else. It's not going to be Trevor Moore, Luff, Lazard, Anderson, Dolan. It's going to be Daniel Carr. We don't really have to care necessarily if there are pluses or negatives, positives or negatives with this team. We're just pretty much going to go best lines. Make sure that everyone is good to go. Carter's good where he is. So we're going to put Turcotte. Actually, Turcotte with Holla and Brown should be okay, and that way we can keep Iafallo on the top line. So what if I do this? That at least drops some of the negatives. I don't recall Corey Conacher being a particularly good center. I can take him out, though, for Carr. And just to double check, yeah, there's going to be a minus no matter what. So let's put Carter there. That's going to be the team. It's not good. I would still obviously expect us to, I'd still expect us to finish dead last this year. I think that's a fair expectation. I really, at this point, don't even care if Doughty has a minus. It's just, what's Robin Lehner going to look like? And we have to re-sign him. We have to. And I really need to look at some of the renegotiations right now just to make sure people are on board. And right now, everybody wants to come back with the exception of Conacher, Ricola, and obviously that's fine. So, and actually, no, yeah, okay, Vevalainen's still good to go too. Okay. So just taking a look at this team a little bit early, since the re-signings are a bit bigger of a factor this year. I don't really feel as though we have to keep Vevalainen. I mean, he's an RFA. Probably qualify him and see if we can let him go. He obviously hasn't been particularly good, but this team isn't particularly good. We'll probably let him go. So right now, more than anything, it's Robin Lehner and what we're going to be able to sign him to. I'm going to keep that at a 2-year deal. And I want to see if we can drop him down a little bit. Now, he is going to be in no trade clause territory. I could take him out of it at 2-3, but then again, we made the rule of, okay, we're stuck with them. So I'm going to see if we can get him at 2.4. But we have to spin the wheel to see no trade clause and see what we're dealing with here. So the hope, so we go over to this side of things, the hope is that out of those, it lands on a 0. That is the hope. We'll go with 5 seconds. That works for me. Please land on a 0. Please. Please. Damn it. Okay. So Robin Lehner has a no-trade clause for 2 years. Now the question is, God, how many teams? How many teams? And I forget, it's a 3-25. Oh boy, you ready for this? Ready for this? 1, 2, 3, 4. I need to save this reel, by the way, so I don't have to type this in every damn time. Pretty quick and easy, though. But we're going to see how limited Robin Lehner is in terms of where he can be traded. For the 2 years, he has a no-trade clause. Ooh, that was close. So 3 teams. So basically, for Robin Lehner, we're going to offer him this deal. And should he sign it, it's going to be a no-trade clause, 3 teams. Which means the bottom 3 teams in the league he could not be traded to. But any other team is fair game. That's pretty much what that situation is. Everybody else will continue to work on their contracts as we move along. But for now, Robin Lehner is obviously the key. We're going to move past deadline day and see how it goes as we beat Montreal 5-1. Go figure. Pietrangelo, an injured stomach. And there we go. So Robin Lehner has re-signed. We beat the Coyotes as well. Hopefully that was a wise decision in a season where there have already been some interesting decisions made, to put it lightly. Now again, Vevalainen wants to come back. He wants a one-way deal as well. That's a tough call as far as what to do with him. You know what? I think we are going to look to re-sign him. I could just move him, but we'll give him that deal because he'd still be an RFA. If he's willing to sign that, that's fine by me. In terms of other expiring deals, Pietrangelo wants to come back, but there's no way I really envision us signing Pietrangelo. Not for that much money. I mean, he's worth it, but it doesn't make sense to sign this guy at all. Plus, it's, it just doesn't make sense. So, Cale Clegg, wow, wants to be paid. Okay. Well, Cale, the good thing is you're an RFA, so I don't have to factor in a no trade or a no movement just yet. But because he played some NHL time and is playing NHL time this year, much like Walker, he wants to be paid. We're going to go down to 335. And that is a prove-it contract. That is a prove-it contract right there. Matt Roy, we are also going to look to keep. And I'd say a 3-year deal is just about perfect, but I'm going to try to sign him to a 4. Get that little bit of extra term going in case he ends up, proving to be a really good third-pairing guy. And that could be a steal of a contract. I'm like Chiarelli, just handing out term like a madman. Connauton's going to be dropped. Riikoula's going to be dropped. Brickley is going to be dropped. I don't know if it's Moverare or Moverare, but I'm going to look to bring him back. Normally I wouldn't, but if he'll sign that, we're good to go. Let's take a look. Biega can obviously go, and Nelson can go as well. On the right-hand side, Kaliev's going to need to sign his ELC. Taylor Hall, we're obviously going to drop. Alex Iafallo is going to be a problem. Trevor Moore is an RFA. So I'm going to try to get him for 3 years. And in terms of 85% trick, that would be 1025. That would be a great deal for us. Daniel Carr, we're obviously going to drop. Hall is looking for, we're dropping. We're dropping you, Taylor. Again, this was just to save you from yourself. Eric Holla is going to be dropped. Mike Amadio, I want to bring back. Still like him as a bottom 6 option. 1425, if he's willing to accept that. That's really good news for us. Blake Lizotte. I'm going to go with that 2-year deal because it would still keep him as an RFA. So if he's willing to sign that, that would be fantastic. Conacher's gone. Rimshaw, former London Knight. That's all I know. Give him a 2-year deal. And for Morrison, you're really just not going to make it, are you, Brad? So we're going to drop you. So the big deal now to sort out is Alex Iafallo. I'm going to try to go 6 years. I'm going to go 6 years. In fairness, with the 85% trick, technically with that contract with Lehner, I wasn't supposed to do what I did. I just realized that. But I still, gave him the no trade. It didn't really save us that much money anyway. Iafallo, it's not going to make a difference. He's in no movement clause territory, no matter what we do. But I am going to try to lock him up for 6 years. And for him, it would be 7.3 million, which, if I cannot hit the wrong button, would drop that contract down to 6.225, which would be a pretty good deal for us, in my opinion. So the no movement clause, we'd have to stay loyal for half the contract, right? So 3 years minimum on a no movement. The question from there is whether or not it's just 3 years, or if it's more than that. In fairness, let's restart this wheel here. So for him, it's either 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, or the full 6. We want this to land on a 3. Desperately, we want this to land on a 3. Be incredibly helpful. And we got it. Perfect. Okay, so for Iafallo, if he were to accept this, and we're going to bring him back, he is going to be on a 3 out of 6 year no movement clause. And then, I mean, yeah, it's just we're outright free. So the remaining years would have switched to a no trade clause, or we're free. So after 3 years, we can trade Alex Iafallo with no limitations, which is really good news for us. If we need to do that, he'd be turning 30. So with that, we are good to go for these initial contract re-signings. Obviously, I'm handling things a little bit earlier than I normally do, but the series is just a tad bit different and requires me to do things a little bit earlier than I normally would. So we'll see what happens with these negotiations, and hopefully this team starts losing a few more games, but obviously, like we just improved in goal in theory. Amadio is back. Trevor Moore, Matt Roy, Alex Iafallo signed. Blake Lizotte, Vianney Vevalainen, Kale Clegg, Drake Reimsha, Movarer. So everybody signed. That's phenomenal. Although, boy, before that Edmonton game, we were starting to win a little bit more than I would prefer us to, which again isn't surprising given the roster. I know. I am well aware of what I did with this team. So in terms of expiring contracts, we're good. It's just the big 3 that we signed to try and kickstart their careers. We have $23 million in space to work with. I'm feeling really good about where this roster is. I'd feel better about it if Adrian Kempe was on it, I think. Although time will tell, right? Like who, that extra first round pick, who is that ultimately going to be? Right now, unfortunately, it's looking like Vegas is going to be a playoff team, but in terms of trading up, you think of the maneuverability that we're going to have with that extra draft pick now. I don't know. We re-signed Robin Lehner. That's the important thing. Lehner's back. We have our starting goaltender locked up for the foreseeable future. I mean, 2 years at least. That's the foreseeable future, because who knows what's going to happen beyond that. But we have him locked up for a couple of years, and we can move on from him if we need to. And we have 2 first-round picks from Vegas, which, again, might not end up being the highest picks, but an extra first-round pick might not be the worst situation in the world. It's so tough. Because, again, right now it's the mystery box. Like, we know what we had with Kempe. He wasn't going to get much better than he had to, but, again, he was, fixing to be a staple on that second line. And instead, he's off, he's off the team. So, I don't know. What I do know is that we're dead last in the Pacific, and the Golden Knights are outside looking in. There is no wild card spot. We need Vegas to lose. We really do. We need Vegas to lose here, and we can have 2 lottery picks, and man, if that Vegas pick is a lottery pick and we hit, then things are looking very good for us, as we are currently in the bottom 4. So we will, not. I mean, I don't think we would have been worse than the Islanders, even if I had held off on making those signings. They just had a brutal season. But for Vegas right now, they are 20th and could finish much lower. So right now, all eyes on the Golden Knights to see what's going to happen with their remaining 2 games. As we play Calgary here, obviously we're hoping to lose, and we do. We do get a pity point, though. The Golden Knights are a bit further back because that was a huge 2 points for Calgary I think we're good. San Jose here, also trying to stay above Vegas. We really need to lose this. And we do. The Golden Knights have missed out on the playoffs. We are going to have 2 lottery picks this year, which is fantastic news for us and might ease a little bit of doubts, as we did not win a single game in like our last 11, if not more. So we absolutely tanked it the back half of the season, which is great. Even with the moves that we made, 25 wins on the year as Edmonton, Vancouver, and San Jose make it. Again, Vegas misses out, which is great news for us. They finished 21st in the league, so we're going to have decent odds here. All things considered, we finished 28th. In the Central Division, Minnesota, Dallas, Nashville, Colorado, and Winnipeg made the playoffs. St. Louis was horrible. In the Atlantic, it's Florida, Boston, Detroit, and Toronto. Montreal was hot garbage. And in the Metro, Washington, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, and New Jersey. And, of course, the Islanders were terrible. So Washington wins the President's Trophy on tiebreaker. And, again, we were 4th bottom in the league table. So, you know, say what you want about the Kempe trade. Trust me, I have my doubts. I thought he was going to be a staple of this series as well. But when you get 2 first-round picks thrown at your face, that can change things, and especially when you can move on from Jonathan Quick, which, again, I talked about it. Moving on from Quick, moving on from Carter. I thought those were going to be... I thought Quick and Kempe were going to be here. I thought they were. Just didn't play out that way. Things can change. Anze Kopitar had a really good season. Iafallo had a really good season. Brown had a great season, all things considered. Taylor Hall was insane. You're welcome for the big-time paycheck you're going to get in the offseason. Carl Grundstrom was great. Turcotte was solid, 23 goals. Eric Holla was great. Jeff Carter was solid. Amadio and Wagner, decent on the 4th line, at least offensively. Ferk was okay. Daniel Carr, not so much. Not so much. Defensively, Doughty, Pietrangelo had a really good season, though. Obviously, you know, the defensive concerns were evident. Robin Lehner was abysmal this season. He's showing up as an 84. That's, you know, time will tell as to whether or not we made the right choice. That's all I can say. Around the league. Let me know what you think. Do we tune down the goal scoring just a little bit more? But Connor McDavid absolutely ran the league. I'm going to assume people think we should... Oh, yeah, people are going to say tune it down a little bit more. And I wouldn't necessarily disagree with you because damn some of the goal scoring. John Carlson had 107 points as a defenseman. Connor McDavid and Patrick Kane each scored 60 goals, which, again, is outrageous. Defensively, yeah, 3-4 defensemen over a point a game. Probably going to turn it down a little bit more. We turned it down heading into the season. We're probably going to turn it down again. I think that's fair. And goalie-wise, the winningest, Ilya Samsonov. We don't know how good he is, but he was the winningest. Save percentage, the highest in the league was Aaron Dell. Bernier at a .913 might have won the Vezina. Jonathan Bernier might have won the Vezina. And for the rookie race, Kirill Kaprizov ran away with it because, of course, he did. Alex Nylander was also up there, Morgan Frost, Alexis Lafreniere, and others. So that brings to a close the regular season. Heading in the next year, again, I can only presume that you guys are going to say tune down the scoring a little bit more, and maybe a bit more, and we definitely will. So let's see how this plays out. It's Edmonton, Colorado, Vancouver and San Jose, Minnesota, Winnipeg, Dallas, and Nashville. In the East, it's Florida, New Jersey, Boston, Detroit, Washington, and Toronto, and the Battle of Pennsylvania. We'll see how it all plays out, who takes home the cup in Season 2, and, of course, how the awards are handed out. We're going to go best lines down in Ontario. I don't know if they made the playoffs. They did not, actually. It said it right there at the top as I mentioned it. So, not exactly a banner season in terms of success for this organization, top to bottom. That's really the best way to describe it. The Detroit Red Wings have won the Stanley Cup In Season 2, they make it past Boston in the first round. The Red Wings. The Red Wings. This sim engine shall do what it damn well pleases. As they beat Boston in 7, New Jersey in 5, they swept Washington, and they swept Vancouver. The Dead Wings no more. The Yzer plan is just a few seasons away from being successful. As Philip Zadina, Dylan Larkin, the names you would expect. Nikolai Prohorkin, maybe not. Maybe we shouldn't let go of him. I guess he's very happy he left. Damn. Justin Williams ended up on that team. Defensively, Ronick, Shattenkirk, Zdeno Chara, and Jonathan Bernier. Unbelievable. Award-wise, of course, it was Philly and now Detroit. The Art Ross goes to Connor McDavid, as does the Hart. The Norris to John Carlson for the second year in a row. Lady Bing to Kaner. Kaprizov wins the Calder. Zadina wins the Conn Smythe. Aaron Dell won the Vezina. Philip Grubauer the Jennings. Vince Dunn the Masterton. Selke to Bergeron. McDavid to Ted Lindsay. And Patrick Kane with the Rocket Richard. In the AHL, Evan Barrett put up the most points. League MVP was Oliver Wahlstrom. David Cotton scored the most goals and was the top rookie. Top defenseman, Nick Bedan. Top goaltender, Ryan Miller. And the MVP of the playoffs, Brennan Manel. Good old Brennan Manel. Not too shabby. So that brings Season 2 officially to a close. Detroit wins. Now the question is, what will the lottery results look like? We have 2 lottery picks. The Kempe trade. Ugh. We get bumped down 2 spots with our own pick. So we'll have the 6th overall pick and the 12th overall pick. Still not bad, but Anaheim moving up really, really hurts. So we don't get the lottery luck, but 2 picks inside the top 12, I'm certainly not complaining about. And presumably, we're going to be looking, number 1 with the 12th pick here, Rick Van Katterschen or Vladimir Zubov, Markstrom, Rodan. There are plenty of computer-generated players to select from. And then Genther, Othman, Beniers, whatever. There are options. We're going to be okay. Like, we might not be getting Roddy, Clark, Ness, or Koch, but we're still going to be okay in terms of this pick. Now, again, whether or not they end up being better than Kempe, time will tell, but we will get a chance to find out as Zdeno Chara retires as a Stanley Cup champion with the Detroit Red Wings. Fantastic. Derek Engelland also calls it a career, as does Chad Johnson. As none of the, there we go. Joachim Lindstrom became a scout, but not Zdeno Chara. Draft interviews, nothing to do there. And the pro scout, we don't really have anything to worry about. So with that, we're good to go. To the draft we go. Let's see what the deal is, shall we? As we won't be able to trade up because nobody in the top 5 wants to make a move. So right now is the perfect time to double check here, as we are going to have to trade away some picks, but that's okay. Let's see here. Goalie-wise, we're definitely keeping Leonard. Glebov is safe for now. Villalta, Justice, Vianney Vevalainen. Vevalainen's down to a 70th. Can I move Vevalainen? I can. 6th round pick from Pittsburgh. I'm going to take that. Although technically that would count as moving up, wouldn't it? I guess that would count as moving up. That sucks. I didn't even think of that. I'm glad I did it before I made the trade. Can I move Cal Peterson? I could. 7th rounder next year. I think I might take that from Pittsburgh. Cal's down to being a minor league starter, and he's not really going to get it better. I'm going to take that deal from Pittsburgh. That doesn't count as trading up this year. We're going to move Cal Peterson on for a 7th rounder next year. Ingham. I don't know if there will be any value. Yeah, there really isn't. Vianney Vevalainen If it's only for that 6th, then it's just not going to happen. Justice, we don't really want to move on from. Villalta, we're not going to move on from either. Defensively, I'm not allowed to trade the rights for Pietrangelo. I mean, in fairness, his contract is up. That actually raises an interesting point. I wasn't allowed to trade him. Am I allowed to trade his rights? Because right now, I don't even know if I would. Because trading for these picks, it would be technically trading up into this year's draft. That one wouldn't. That Dallas trade works because we wouldn't be getting a pick this year. A 3rd in Armia. Wow, we could get Gallagher for it. That's an interesting decision. So I wasn't allowed to trade him, but am I now allowed to trade his rights? Damn, the Philly trade would work too. That is a very interesting question as to whether or not I'm allowed to do this. And I could reacquire Jonathan Quick, but I won't. I don't know if I feel sketchy doing... I mean, we said we're not allowed to trade him for full value, but now it's like, okay, what can I do? Because technically his contract is up. Is that scummy? It might be. It's a big-time technicality. I'm going to let them go without trading their rights. Pietrangelo, Haula, and Hall. Yeah, I feel like that's too cheap. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. Because technically we're like, okay, we're not allowed to trade him. And then if I were to move him anyway, you know, that's pretty rough. That'd be pretty rough. In terms of who else we'd even want to move... The good thing is, you know, our younger defensemen are getting better. Can I move Alex Biega? Is someone somehow interested in Biega? The answer there is no. Dursey, I still want to see him develop. Kevin Connaughton, anybody interested in you? No. As to be really expected, I would say. Ricola, we know you're not re-signing. You really have no value. Yeah, we're not going to be able to move these guys. It's at least worth checking, though. And Phillips, Spence, Patrick, who we picked up last year. When did we pick him up? 2nd round? Yeah, I mean, that's okay for someone of that potential. Dustin Brown. Can I trade you? And for what? A 2nd and a 3rd. Shodin, a 3rd and a 5th. This is tough. Tyler Parsons, a 2nd and a 4th. Again, we don't know where Calgary finished this year. But technically it's not trading him to a bottom feeder. His no trade clause really doesn't factor in at this point. That's just, you know, at the deadline. Anthony Honka in a 2nd. Stelio in a 6th. Riley Tufte a 3rd and a 4th, but we have used Tufte in prior series. What else do we have here? I really don't want to have this involve a pick this year. Martin, but we have no idea how good he is. That's easy for me to say. But I assume he'd be decent. Dustin Brown. Pretty much have the freedom to trade you. I mean, I want to keep you here. Just like I kind of wanted to keep Jonathan Quick here. But again, like once that Band-Aid was pulled off and it's like, oh shit, someone actually was willing to take Jonathan Quick. Now it's like, well... What do we do? I like that Carolina deal, a 2nd and Honka. I like the Tufte deal too. And then the question is, how good is Martin on Nashville? How good is this dude? 3rd round pick, I don't trust that. That I do not trust. Do we just pull the Band-Aid off and get rid of Dustin Brown, too? Because, like I said, I don't like immediately trading people away. But he's 36. He's got 1 year left after this. Why not trade him to a contender? Is Carolina that? What are they listed as? Hopeful contender. The Band-Aid's coming off. Dustin Brown has been dealt to the Carolina Hurricanes. We pick up defensive prospect Anthony Honka and a second-round pick. We have moved on from Dustin Brown and Jonathan Quick. I don't know how I feel about it because, as you saw in the Florida series, I don't like moving on from certain players immediately. But now that Quick is gone, it makes sense to get rid of Brown, and we're going to see what we can get, if anything, for Jeff Carter. We might as well. I mean, there's moves that are going to happen eventually. Let's see if we can move Jeff Carter. And there are indeed offers. Ryan Miller, who of course went back to Buffalo, I guess. Which is crazy. Is there Dallas a second and a third? Same from Nashville. That's too good to pass up. It really is. Like, I want to hold on to these guys and be loyal, but it's like at this point, what is the point? You know? What is the point? We are going to send Jeff Carter. I'm thinking to Nashville. If not, it's to Dallas. They're listed as champions, and there's not a no-trade clause or a no-movement clause to worry about. Jeff Carter, have fun in the Music City. Jonathan Quick is gone. Dustin Brown is gone. Jeff Carter is gone. If it wasn't the start of a new era when we traded away Jonathan Quick in the last episode, well, it's becoming quite clear that it is indeed time for a new era to begin here in this episode. That's what's happening. That's how it's going down. Anze Kopitar will be staying, though. I don't believe we're going to look to really deal anybody else here. Nobody else really has any value. So with that, let's get to the draft, and let's see who's still on the board for us with the 6th overall pick. Olvestad's gone, so we're going to be dealing with either Genther, Othman, Beniers, Waugh, Wilmer, Lassell, or Van Katterson. And I got to be honest, I'm dealing, really leaning towards Rick Van Katterson because he's computer generated, and I don't remember, Jesus Christ, Genther's goal totals. I don't remember how good I made these players. I have it based off of, projected draft rankings, obviously, but I just don't remember about Dylan Genther. Van Katterson would be great. We can pair him with somebody else, but we should be able to get him later. I feel like Genther, with the 73 goals in 72 games, we kind of have to go for him, don't we? I mean, all these top CHL guys do have good point totals, and obviously I'm not allowed to take anybody there. Van Katterson's the top. I think we take Genther. He's moved up in the rankings, too, quite a bit. We are going to take Dylan Genther with this pick. 73 goals is too good to pass up. I hope he's a high 6 and not a medium. He's already listed as a depth forward, so the overall's high. Very happy with that. And we'll sim to the next pick, where I believe Van Katterson is still going to be on the board, which is perfect. I mean, he only had 15 points. Zubov had a few more goals than that. None of these Euro players were that impressive, but we're going to trust the right wing Rick Van Katterson being on the board there. So that's who we're picking up, thanks to the Kempe trade. And he's listed as an other, which kind of scares me. Let's go take a look at what is available in terms of trading. We don't have enough really to trade back up into the first round. We're just going to have to deal with what we have. So I'm going to be intrigued to go back through the first round and kind of see if there was anybody else who's higher projected, as Ness is a third liner already, so that was a really good pick there. Let's see, Luke Hughes, other minor league scorer. Okay, it looks like I really couldn't have gone wrong based off of the roles. There wasn't anybody that was available to us who was like a slam dunk NHL ready guy. So that 35th pick is ours. We do get to trade our... Josh Manson, huh? Josh Manson. For the second. That's an interesting one. He's only a top 6 at this point, though. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no for now because I want to see who's on the board for us. And there is a defenseman in Isaac Beliveau. There's also Jalen Van Allen, Jimmy Benson, Kimmo Kuparainen, Luke Mittelstadt, George Stillman, and Ackerland. So really the top 3 defensemen are the most interesting ones between Beliveau, Van Allen, and Kuparainen. I think Beliveau. He's not real. At least I don't believe he's a real player. Is Isaac Beliveau real? I'm 99% sure you're not, and that you wouldn't have been 17. No, Isaac Beliveau is real. Damn. Yeah, currently plays for Rimouski. I thought so. Huh. He's actually having a pretty damn good season for the Oceanic, but of course they're really good. So that leaves the Belgian, Jalen Van Allen, or the Finn Kimmo Kuparainen, who is 17, so we know for sure he's computer generated. Or we take the center in Ackerland. I know people are probably saying Luke Mittelstadt, but again, Kuparainen and Van Allen have a better shot of being higher rated. Both are 17. Both are righties. That's tough because it's just not much to go off of. And again, it doesn't show hits, it doesn't show blocks, which really sucks. I'm going to go for Jalen Van Allen. We're going to take the Belgian for the hell of it. Because why not? So it's now 2 wingers and a defenseman. Van Allen is listed as an other, which is no real surprise. Like, he's not a major out-of-the-box steal. 3rd round. We have more defensemen, 2 centers. So we have the German Norbert Preissing. We have Mohamed Bohinski, Aino Korpikoski, or Harold Reardon, 6'4" defenseman. No crazy point totals. Both defensemen are 18. I need one more defenseman. And I do need a center. And then we get the free pick. I like, though, out of this group that Bohinski is the only one who is improving in the central scouting rankings. He's also the youngest player of the bunch. You know what? Let's take Mobo. That's what we will affectionately call him. Mobo. Come on down. You are our required center pick. And again, the likelihood that they're listed as anything else other than forwards or other forwards, incredibly slim. 4th round. And look, I get it to not know immediately how good they are. I get that that can be frustrating. But it does add a little bit to it. It does. Snyder, Puka, or J.C. Montgomery. All of them are 18. Montgomery's a beast at 6'3". Miles Snyder also available. His rankings held pretty firm at this point. Snyder, Puka, or Montgomery. I feel like we need left-handed defensemen. But then again, we have so many younger defensemen coming up, does it even matter? Let's go for Montgomery. Let's go for Montgomery. So with that, we need a goalie, and we have a free pick, and we're good to go from there. So let's see who's available. If there's a goalie, we have to take him, and there is not. So we do have a free pick here, but it's either the center, Matthew Rempe, Alex Bolshakov. So pretty much we're taking a defenseman, and it's either going to be Stephen LaCosta, Murray Marsh, or Caden Eves, and it's pretty straightforward. It's LaCosta. He's the youngest of the group. So we're going to be taking an extra defenseman this year in Stephen LaCosta, and we'll sim to that final pick here, 6th round. Is there a goalie? There is not. So before doing anything else, I'm going to try to trade down with this pick. In fairness, could try to trade down to next year's draft twice. We could get the negotiating rights to Ryan Getzlaf. Interesting. The rights to David Backes, Carter Rowney. Good God. Koivunen, we don't know how good he is. Puka. I feel like Puka was just drafted. 4th round pick from the Bruins. I think I'd prefer to end up with that 4th round pick next year from Boston rather than anybody where it's like, okay, we know these guys are kind of just low end, or it's like, hey, someone's negotiating rights. I mean, 2 6th rounders for a 4th rounder next year. It's a pretty good bit of business. Tim Heed, Sutter. I'm just trying to think now of who was a bad team last year. I feel like Boston was good. They made the playoffs. Carolina didn't, though. Let's take that deal from Carolina. That'll be our trade down. And hopefully with that 7th round pick, there's a goalie. If not, it's just going to be take the first goalie that we see. So let's see who is there. There is no goaltender. So it goes to random chance, and it will be Calle Rodin. 6'4" at 19. We kind of lucked out there. He might be half decent, but Calle Rodin is the pick. So that is it for the draft this year. All in all, of course, no way to tell how good these guys are going to be, but Genther and Van Katterson, 2 forwards, in the aftermath now of losing or trading away. We've lost Kempe, we've lost Brown, Carter, Jonathan Quick is gone. There have obviously been a lot of changes to the roster. So, the new era certainly beginning sooner rather than later. So, goalie-wise, again, it's pretty straightforward. We're going to probably be looking for a better backup goalie this year other than Vehviläinen, who is still listed as a backup. So that leaves us room to sign somebody if we need to. Defensively, Alex Pietrangelo is going to be dropped. I don't plan on retaining him. We have so many young defensemen that we're still going to try to give the opportunity to. Alex Biega, Kevin Connaughton are gone. Obviously, we're risking a lot of morale crisis as well. Ricola and Daniel Brickley, they're going to be gone. Spence, I believe that's Jordan Spence. Go ahead and sign him to his ELC. And then Patrick, other. Do we have a defenseman here who isn't listed as an other? Casey Nelson is going to be dropped. And then Van Allen still listed as an other. On the right-hand side, Arthur Kaliev needs to sign his ELC. And Lang and Van Katterson still listed as others. Left-hand side, Taylor Hall. You're welcome for letting you rebuild your career. Dan Carr is going to be dropped. Shafagulin will probably be signed soon. Tipov, we're probably going to sign Dylan Genther in the preseason. And then Eric Holla will also be dropped. Tyler Madden we still haven't signed. We're going to drop Corey Conacher. So we have a lot of cap space to work with. A lot of cap space to work with. The good thing is this roster is already set. I mean, now it's just a matter of, we've gotten rid of a lot of our veterans. Kaliev signed, Spence signed. We got rid of a lot of our veterans already. I didn't plan on doing that. Again, talk about the set plan. It makes sense to get rid of those guys, but, kind of want to keep them around because they're faces of the team. But in real life, the Kings are starting to tear it down. We're just continuing really what they started. So that leads us to free agency, where we start off with goaltenders. Tuukka Rask is available, the only elite goaltender. But here, we're looking more for a project, or we're going to be looking for an outright backup. So when it comes to the money, the two-way deals, Erson's still there. There are a couple of goalies here looking for $860, which is a good sign. So, Roddy Ross, Tendek, Coy, and Erson. Erson's down to a minor league starter. I don't think we're going to find the goaltender that we want. David Wolf is there. Or not David Wolf, Dustin Wolf. David Wolf was a member of the Calgary Flames. let's see who's there for a true backup in terms of goaltending. Where we are looking at Thomas Greiss, Shestyorkin, but we just used him recently. Riddick, UC Saros available, Mike Smith, Ryan Bednard, Connor Ingram, who we almost had at one point, Malcolm Subban, Hadobin, Aaron Dell, who is coming off of a ridiculous season. Go from one California team to another. Capo Kakkonen, James Reimer, Olmark. I mean, Aaron Dell would make a lot of sense with the season he just had. Bednard or Ingram would make sense off of their age. As could Saros. Ryan Bednard I haven't really used in a series. I have used Ingram. You know, I'm going to go for Ryan Bednard just because I haven't used him before. And we're going to go 2 years. I'm going to give him a little bit more than $700K. We're going to give him a bit of a prove-it contract. See if that works. For defensemen, Sergachev I don't want to go for. Pietrangelo. I mean, there are some top 4 defensemen here, but most of them obviously are a little bit older. And then in terms of prospects, Libor Hayek is there. Hugo Haas, I believe it is. Yeah, but he was technically not undrafted in real life. It's just a glitch in the game. I don't know if they fixed it since. There really aren't any top prospects to go for right now either. You can kind of tell because they'll always ask for the most amount of money. So defensively, we don't really have a set plan on who to go for. And then forward-wise, Hall's obviously there. This is where we could spend a bit of money. I just want to see if there's any top prospects. And the answer right now is no. So let's go take a look at this team and figure out how we feel about signing a defenseman. I mean, obviously I have to spend some money. But defensively, it's Doughty Walker, Zekov, Roy, Bjornfot, Clegg, Anderson. All these guys are going to be pushing for spots. And then forward-wise, it's going to be a super young team. It makes sense to bring in some help. Hell, to be honest, even bringing in Taylor Hall makes some sense. We do need to spend some money to get to the cap floor. We really do. So, let's, do we go for Taylor Hall? Out of the second liners, we could bring Justin Williams back, but no real point there. Taylor Hall now, of course, he's looking for the max. His asking price has dropped a little bit. 3 teams are interested. I have used Taylor Hall in a series before, though. I wish Philip Deneau wasn't looking for 8.5. It's kind of tough because I do want to spend some money, but I almost feel like we should look to target those who are left over on August 1st and then just go for it. And that way, too, we can fill up the team without having to commit that much money. Or that much term. We'll still commit money, but we won't have to commit that much term. So I think we're going to stop it here. I'll leave it up to you guys as far as, are there any free agents that we absolutely have to go for? And then we're already at the point where the next episode will be the beginning of the next season, where, at this point, we've already diverted from the plan so heavily, I genuinely don't know what to expect next. But I'm looking forward to finding out how this goes down, how this plays out. And I hope you feel the same way. If you do, drop a like on the video. Subscribe if you haven't already. Would be greatly appreciated. Check out everything in the description. And, of course, a shout-out to my patrons over on Patreon. I love each and every one of you. Jonathan Quick is gone. Dustin Brown. Jeff Carter. We have an extra first-round pick this upcoming. We have a couple of extra first-round picks. Things are just, things are weird.